Welcome back to my little corner. My name is Stephanie, and today I really wanted to share with you guys my Halloween TBR, Halloween reading goals, whatever you want to call it. So at the time that I'm recording this, it is early mid-October. So I'm currently really getting into the festive vibes, and that translates to my reading. So I don't typically base what I'm reading around the seasons or the time of the year, but since it's Halloween, I feel like it's a very specific type of vibe. A couple of little disclaimers before I get into the TBR. One, I'm not a massive reader in the sense that I read a ton of books in 1 month. So that's going to definitely reflect on the size of my TBR. I'm not going to put 10 different books on here knowing damn well that I'm not going to get through them. And second, I like to go into my books knowing as little as possible. So at the end of the day, the couple of books that I'm planning on reading for Halloween might not even be on theme once I get into them, but that's an issue that I'll deal with. Not even an issue. It is what it is type of thing, you know? So without further ado, let's get into it. So I did mention that this is going to be a very short TBR. I'm even going to shorten it a little bit further. It's mainly 2 books that I really want to get through for Halloween this year, but if for any reason I find myself having some extra time around the actual holiday itself, then I would really like to squeeze in a third one. But I'm not really going to hold myself to it. I'm not going to put that pressure on myself. I'm just reading to have fun and to enjoy it. And if I don't get through them all, no biggie. And if I do get through them all, great. So the first book that I really want to get through is The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches. The only thing that I know about this book is that it's about our main character, who is a witch, who hides her identity as a witch and eventually finds a house full of people who are also witches. That's it. I've heard some people say that it's kind of wholesome. It kind of has themes of found family. But as far as plot, I don't really know anything more beyond that, and that's fine with me. The second book that I really want to get through is The Night Circus. So, shocker, from my understanding, it's about a magical night circus. Who would have thought? It's not new by any means. I'm very late to the Erin Morgenstern bandwagon, but better late than never, you know? And then if by any chance I have the time for a third book before the Halloween vibes need to hit the hay, then I would really like to read Interview with the Vampire. If I don't know anything about the plot for the other books on my TBR, this one I know even less. I haven't even read the description on Storygraph for Interview with the Vampire. All I know is that enough people whose opinions or recommendations on books I deeply trust have raved about this book or this series recently, and that's all I need to know. So like I've said, I have no idea whether or not these books are actually going to be within a Halloween theme, but I will figure that out as I go. And yeah, instead of starting with The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, I think I'm actually going to start with The Night Circus. That one just kind of has a little bit more of my attention at the moment, I think because I don't really know that much about what it's gonna give me. And yeah, I'm gonna get started on reading that, and I will jump in and update you guys along the way. So see you soon. Okay, so I have a little update for you guys. I just finished reading The Night Circus, and I have to admit that it took me much longer than I had anticipated, so it does not really look like I'm going to make it to that stretch goal of reading 3 books by Halloween. So, my thoughts. I'm going to be transparent with you guys. I feel like any of the negatives that I have with this book are probably self-inflicted because I went into it with really high expectations. Before I had even read like the first chapter, I already anticipated that this would be a 5-star read. So it's like I started off on the wrong foot and everything from then on was just stacked against The Night Circus. I want to start off by saying that the writing for the book itself was phenomenal. It was so strong. Specifically when it comes to like its descriptive nature, I felt like I was almost like in this world with the other characters, and I could picture everything going on so perfectly and clearly in my mind, which I don't know a lot of books that do that for me, like that are just so clear in what it's trying to portray. But unfortunately, that was like the strongest part and kind of like the only saving grace that I felt like while I was reading this story. I didn't really care for the characters that much, which is it's just so disappointing. Like it sucks to come on here and kind of be like, yeah, no, I didn't love it. But kind of is what it is. The characters themselves were not appealing. I didn't really feel very attached to any of them aside from Celia. Celia's character was by far the most interesting. I didn't really love the twins, like the kids, the kiddos. Wasn't a big fan of that, so, or their characters all that much. And yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sorry if anyone's getting hurt feelings over that, but I also kind of felt like at times the dialogue itself was very stiff. I feel like everything was so beautifully descriptive and just so vibrant when it came to like describing what was going on, but the actual words coming from the characters themselves fell very flat for me, which, yeah. It sucks to come on and complain about a book, but at the end of the day, if I say that I'm going to read something, I feel like I owe it, at least for transparency's sake, to say what I really feel about a book, regardless of what other people have to say about it. So the characters, the dialogue, and the relationships between the characters didn't really grab me. I kind of felt like I was just more so interested in the plot and like what was going to happen versus how the characters were interacting with each other. And I will say that for the first like 30% of the book, I did struggle. So the format of the book was a little bit hard for me to get into. It is a third-person point of view, but there are so many characters whose perspectives get thrown into the mix. And there were quite a few occasions where a chapter would start and I would have to read like the second or third paragraph before I even knew whose perspective we were kind of seeing things from. And that did throw me off a few times. I did have a bit of a struggle with kind of getting into the groove of that. And the format also follows like a linear fashion in terms of like each chapter has either a year or like a very specific date. And for the most part, it does work in a linear fashion. So each chapter is kind of continuing from the previous one. And then occasionally jumps back. You go from like 1902 to then back to 18 something, and it throws me off just a little too much. I will say past that 30% mark, I was really interested in the story. I felt like the stakes were really high and everything was just very intense. And it kind of fizzled out towards the end, which disappointed me again. That being said, I will say I'm still looking forward to reading Erin Morganson's other book, The Starless Sea, that has been on my TBR for equally as long as The Night Circus. And regardless of how I felt about The Night Circus, I do want to read that, and I do want to go into that with a more open mind and kind of reduced expectations, just so that I can perhaps enjoy the story for what it is and not really be stacking things against it, trying to like disprove why it would be a 5-star. I just want to read it. So yeah, that's that. It's a bit of a bummer, but we're getting a little close to Halloween, so I'm going to stop wasting time and probably just jump into the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches tonight. And yeah, I will continue to update you guys and let you know how it goes. Okay, so I have a pretty disappointing update for you guys. I'm not gonna lie, this Halloween reading goal or reading trend is kind of kicking my ass. But I decided to drop the Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches for the dumbest reason, and I'm aware that it is the dumbest reason to drop a book, but everyone has their icks. Everyone has like that one little thing that when they read it in a book, they're like, actually, never mind. I'm no longer interested. I'm done. I'm walking away. And for me, that's little kids. That's kids in general. Just having like weird, quirky little kids in books just kind of turns me off. And as it stands, I no longer have any interest in the book, but because of the fact that I have seen so many raving reviews about it, I will eventually come back to it. Maybe when I have like a clear mind and I'm no longer so like turned off by annoying little kids in literature, I'll come back to it to finish, or just to start over, because I'm only like 7, 8 chapters in. Yeah, it's too much for me. I don't really like reading about kids, especially when it seems like the person who wrote them has no idea how like real kids work. And also when kids are saying weird fucking out of pocket shit, someone should correct that. And when it's kind of just left alone as like a quirky little trait in a book, I don't really fuck with it. So yeah, so there's that. We're getting really close to Halloween at the moment where I'm recording this, so I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think I'm gonna even try to read Interview with the Vampire, because I feel like this whole trend where I'm trying to read something for like a theme or a trend, or like, oh, it's Halloween, so I need to read books about vampires and witches and like weird magical shit. It's just, it kind of goes against like my own purpose with books, or like my own drive with reading. Like, I think if you want to read a book, you should read it whenever the fuck you want to read it, and not just when it's on theme or like when it's in season. So I think trying to force myself to read these books at this specific time of year was maybe not the best idea. So yeah, I'm gonna stop that. I'm gonna leave this whole Halloween thing behind me, and I'm going to move on. So where does this leave me? I still have a 70 book reading goal to get through for this year, and now that we are nearing the very end of October, I have 2 full months to get through this goal. Unfortunately, with how this Halloween reading went, I'm a little bit behind. I have 14 books to get through. And just a disclaimer, I do include manga volumes in my reading goal. That's why I put my reading goal as high as it is. I know for some people 70 books is nothing, it's a walk in the park. For me, it's a lot of books. So I raised it to 70. It was originally 50 because of the fact that I do in fact count manga volumes. November and December are about to be crunch time. I have to lock in and, well, pause. I don't have to lock in. If I don't actually meet my reading goal, it's not the end of the world, and it doesn't mean that I failed as a reader. It just means I didn't meet my goal. I also don't want to like force myself to read as fast as I can, because like the whole point of reading is supposed to be like an enjoyable hobby for me. So if I add this unnecessary pressure, it's just gonna feel like a chore and not really like an escape. So I would like to reach my 70 book reading goal. Whether I do or not, I guess we'll find out. But I would like to get as close as possible. I do get kind of excited around this time of the year to kind of get into a little bit more deeper reading. It was actually this time last year, almost exactly, when I finally got back into reading after years and years of like not even picking up a book. So I remember last year, it was around the time that the Apothecary Diaries anime had started, and I had watched, I think it was the 4th or 5th episode, and I decided I can't wait a week for this to continue. So I remember like blowing through whatever manga was available at the time, and that wasn't enough for me, so I picked up the light novels, and within the span of like 6 weeks I read 9 volumes, and I was living. I felt like I was having the time of my life. And so now whenever like this season kind of rolls back around, I just feel so like alive and enthusiastic when it comes to continuing this reading hobby, and like just kind of getting lost in other worlds. Enough rambling, let me get into my TBR for the rest of the year. So, you know, as I said, I don't really want to push myself, but I do have some things I really want to get through. Starting off, I have half of the Heaven Official's Blessing series to get through, so I have the last 4 books that still need to be read, volumes 5 through 8. I've been kind of preventing myself from hyperfixating too harshly on any one series or any one like topic, just because like I've been trying to have like a healthy relationship with the media that I consume. But I've done really good this entire year. We're entering November soon, and I think I deserve to treat myself. So I'm gonna throw that to the wind, and I'm going to dive into the last 4 volumes without stopping, and I'm gonna enjoy every second of it. I already know that I'm going to enjoy every second of it. I feel like I've been giving it to myself in small doses, and I'm about to just open the floodgates and go wild. Is it healthy? Probably not, but do I care? Not at all. Not one bit. I also, as I mentioned, I had read the first 9 volumes for the Apothecary Diaries light novels last year. I have not read any more of the series. I've been kind of waiting to accumulate a few novels so that way I can, have a little bit more food to get through, if you will. So that means I have volumes 10, 11, and 12. So 12 actually just got released, I think a couple of weeks ago, if I remember correctly. But yeah, I'll have 3 volumes of that to get through, which I am very happy about. And if I only read the rest of the Heaven Official's Blessing series and the continuation of the Apothecary Diaries light novels, then I will be halfway to completing my reading goal for the year. So for the remainder 7 books that I would be missing to get there, I think I really want to finally read the Regency fairy tale series. I've only heard people talk about the first installment for the series, which is Half a Soul. I've heard a lot of people compare it to kind of like Howl's Moving Castle type of vibes. I'm not sure if they mean that in the sense of like the movie or if they are comparing it to the book Howl's Moving Castle, because I do feel like the 2 mediums have quite a different feel to them, but that's for me to find out. I do know that there are like half installments or like prequels in this series, but truthfully, I'm not really interested in getting into those. I think I just want to stick with the main 3 installments, the trilogy, if you will. So with those 3 books added in, I would still be missing a couple of books. I think like 4 in order to reach my 70 book reading goal. And in order to finish that and to kind of top everything off, I am definitely going to throw in a manga, something that's a little bit easier to consume, a little bit quicker to get through, because why not? So I have 2 contenders. I think I'm leaning more towards one of them over the other, but my 2 options for manga series that I really want to at least start reading now would be Hat Atelier, which is getting an anime soon. I don't want to read too much of the series before the show, but I would like to at least read a couple of volumes. And the other series is Requiem of the Rose King. That word beats my ass on Irregular. Requiem of the Rose King is a shoujo manga that I've heard also a lot of really great things about, and I believe it's like a retelling of... What is it a retelling of? Shakespeare? No. I do know that it kind of tackles some dark and heavy themes, but it is a shoujo, and I have been kind of on a mission to get through a shoujo backlog. So I will update you guys before the end of the year, like throughout future reading vlogs, to let you know what I ended up picking up. If I kind of have a lot of extra time, I might just read both, and then I'll surpass my reading goal. But yeah, that is basically all that I have for you guys today. I am a little disappointed with how the Halloween reading went, but I don't want to harp on it because I feel like the more that I focus on how it didn't work out, I might just throw myself back into like a reading slump. So yeah, I'm just gonna move on and keep it rolling. It is what it is. I think if there's anything to be learned from this, it's that sometimes reading goals and reading trends don't work out, and it's no one's fault. It's not your fault for not being able to do it, and it's not that you picked bad books or whatever the case may be. I think it's a lot better to not force yourself to read certain things during specific times of the year, and you should just be able to enjoy things whenever you feel like it. So I will catch you guys again in another reading vlog soon, and yeah, that's kind of all I have for you guys. Have a good one. I hope everyone else had a very enjoyable Halloween, and yeah, see you next time.